was crying. It made me cry.
Friends in the community in shock after a father shoots his son, then kills himself. Good evening, New Hampshire. I'm Tom Griffith. In the last hour, we've learned the names of the man and the 9-year-old. It was a little after 10 o'clock this morning when the father pulled a gun inside the YWCA in Manchester and began shooting. We have live team coverage starting right now with Jennifer Gannon at the Manchester Police Department. Jen?
We've learned the shooter here is 54-year-old Muni Savyon of Manchester. Investigators say he shot and killed his 9-year-old son, Joshua. Savyon was in a second-floor room at the YWCA with his son and a male counselor at about 10 past 10 this morning. Savyon has visitation with the boy and does them at the YWCA. The AG's office says at some point Savyon pulled out a gun, shot his son multiple times, and then shot and killed himself. The counselor was able to escape. Now, investigators say there was video of Savyon's visit with his son today, and they will be taking a look at that. Now, the AG's office says the YWCA does have a metal detector, but due to budget issues, it is not always used. This case is a difficult one for everybody involved.
These types of cases are extremely challenging. I think that there's a lot of sadness and also anger on the part of everyone involved that a father would take his son's life for no other reason other than to apparently spite his mother. So it is difficult, but as always, all the police officers here at Manchester PD are going to carry this out in a professional fashion, and we're going to get as many answers as we can.
Now, Savyon was known in the local community. He was also very involved in Republican politics here in the state, making some unsuccessful bids for state rep. The most recent one was in February of last year. Reporting live in Manchester, Jennifer Gannon, WMUR News 9.
All right, Jen, and now the investigation remains very active right now at the YWCA. Our Nick Spinetto was the first to report on the scene this morning. He's there live tonight along Chestnut Street. Nick?
Yeah, authorities are still on the scene here outside the YWCA, where a peaceful Sunday afternoon was interrupted by gunfire. 9-year-old Joshua Savyon was shot multiple times. Police say it was his own father who was the triggerman. It was a chaotic scene outside the YWCA as dozens of police officers surrounded the building after getting a 911 call a gunman was inside.
There were additional reports that shots had been fired.
Once those shots were fired, officers rushed to the scene. They taped off several blocks and huddled around their vehicles with guns drawn due to the unknown threat. On Sundays, the YWCA is open for supervised parenting time, where the Y says it provides a safe and neutral environment for children to meet with their mother or father. Upstairs is elderly housing. Here you can see an officer helping an older woman escape from the building. Within minutes, police, along with the SWAT team, armed and ready, slowly stormed the Y. Once inside, they found a 9-year-old boy dead, along with his father. The two were there for a visitation as the parents were going through a bitter divorce, a family friend told News 9. People were stunned by the news.
I was crying. It made me cry. I think it's sick and twisted that a father would do that to their own child. Anybody. I think it's disgusting. It makes me sick.
It also sickened Robin Steffman. At the time of the shooting, her ex-husband was inside visiting with their daughters. Speaking to us over the phone, she says her ex-husband and children were right next door to where the shooting took place.
He heard the shots, and he basically grabbed the two girls and ran.
They escaped without any physical injuries, but emotionally they were terrified, as was Robin, who says it was hours before she could reach her ex-husband and her daughters.
It was a few hours of my life where I was wondering if my daughter was dead or alive.
Now, no one else was injured during this incident. We did reach out to the YWCA for comment about this incident or to see if this will prompt any security changes, but they didn't return our calls. We are live here in Manchester tonight. Nick Spinetto, WMUR News 9.
All right, thank you very much. Again, the investigators say the shooter is 55-year-old Muni Savyon of Manchester. He was having a monitored custody visitation with his 9-year-old son Joshua when this tragedy unfolded. Savyon's rabbi apparently made a scene to the area as well today. We're going to find out more from him. Tell you a little bit about Joshua Savyon. He's 9 years old, apparently lives in Amherst, New Hampshire. His father in Manchester, New Hampshire. And the investigation revealing that Savyon arrived at the YWCA at about 9:30 this morning. We did get a chance to talk with the rabbi of Muni Savyon. Melinda Davenport is in the city for us tonight with more on that for us. Melinda, what did he have to say?
Well, Tom, we can tell you that Savyon was in his 50s and originally from Israel. We spoke with the rabbi, as you said, and he said that Savyon was usually reserved and very troubled.
He was an Israeli-born fellow who has been living here about 5 or 6 years in this area.
Local Rabbi Levi Krinsky talking about the man he once served as a spiritual leader, Muni Savyon, a man who police say shot his 9-year-old son inside the Manchester YWCA and then turned the gun on himself. Rabbi Krinsky of Chabad Lubavitch Synagogue says the man in his 50s hadn't been to see him recently.
Rather quiet and removed from mainstream community activities. Occasionally he would come up to the congregation. He would show up usually on the holidays. When he had his son with him, he came more often.
According to the rabbi, the man who killed his son had joint custody of the boy and frequently spent time with him doing various activities in the Queen City.
Partial custody of his son on subsequent weekends over the last couple of years since I've known him. And apparently he was depressed and mentally ill.
And was very distraught after a tragic death in his family back in Israel.
It's about 6 weeks ago in Israel, his younger brother died suddenly in his sleep of a heart attack. So he immediately went, out of respect to the family, and flew to Israel and spent an entire 30 days of mourning with his family.
Now, the rabbi says authorities are now trying to get in contact with Savyon's family members. Most of them are in Israel. That's the latest from Manchester this evening. Melinda Davenport, WMUR News 9.